Hello everyone, this is Nitya Priya and I welcome you all to see the first presentation of Java. We start with Introduction to Object Oriented Programming. Right. So when we study about Java, Java is a whole object oriented program. It is a 100% object oriented programming language. Right. I can say that is the pioneering OOP language that we can ever see. Right. There are many other object oriented programming languages that includes JavaScript, Python, C++, and the other things. The pioneering language is Java, right? So what is object oriented programming? OOP is all about handling classes and objects. A class is a group of methods and the attributes, right? So a class will contain reusable codings. The codings that reside inside a class will be used and can be used again and again through object. We'll see how it is later. Classes can have one or more objects. We can say objects as instance of classes, right? So object is a variable that is created in class type. Okay. So class is a user defined data type. We can also say that a class is a user defined data type. So in the class type only object, the variable object is created, right? So how a class can be used? For example, if we have a class like car is a class. Okay, so car class can have properties like the color of the car, the brand of the car, the model of the car, everything, right? So these are the things that are known as properties, right? And to access these properties outside the class, we can use the variable object of the class type, right? So to use the properties outside, right? So all the class properties can be used outside through the object of the class, and here the object is my car. Using my car we can acquire the properties of the class car outside. So here we see benefits of OOP. Object-oriented programming creates reproducible structures. Reproducible in the sense, when we study programming, when you write programming in Java, you can easily understand what is reproducible coding. That is, inside a class we can create methods and the related attributes of the class. Okay, so these methods using the attributes can be used again and again whenever necessary, can be used again and again outside the class or outside the programming also. That is called as reproducible coding. Then reusable also, right? So as I said, the coding of class can be reused, right? Across programs also it can be used, right? So object oriented programming allows us to do polymorphism. We'll study later what polymorphism is. Then debugging is made easy through object oriented programming. Then of course the coding of OOP is secure and protected. And these are the building blocks of object oriented programming. They are classes, objects, methods and attributes. We see everything in detail. So class first. Class is the container of methods and attributes, as we saw. So classes are user defined data types that I noted earlier. User defined data types. So what is called as user defined data type? A data type is a variable can be created using a data type. Okay, for example, I say int a. What is a? A is an integer because it is declared as int. So the same way, in the class type we can create a variable or more variables. So these variables are called as objects, right? So objects are the variables of class type. In other words, we can say objects are the instances of the class, right? Then comes object. Object is, as I said now, they are the instances of classes. Then attributes. Attributes are the needed or the relevant information that have been stored inside a class, right? Then methods. Methods are the functions that operate on the attributes of a class, right? Then these are the principles of object oriented programming. The first one is inheritance. Inheriting is getting, right? A child will get the properties from the parent. That is called as inheritance, right? The same way a class gets the properties from another class. The class that gives its properties is known as parent class, and the class that gets the properties is known as the child class. Okay, so the second principle is encapsulation. Encapsulation is binding of information. Okay, in a class, the class container, the attributes and the methods are stored, they are bound inside a class. Okay, only using the object of a class we can get these properties and methods outside. So this binding is called as what encapsulation is. So this binding can be done in two ways. One is private, another one is public. When the properties are public, there can be that can be accessible outside the class, okay, easily. When these properties are private, that cannot be acquired outside, that cannot be brought outside. Then abstraction is, so all the concepts are related. Again and again I'll say the same thing here. Abstraction is hiding all the essential or complex details inside a class, and exposing only the miscellaneous properties, right? So this is called as abstraction. Abstraction is hiding everything inside a single block called class. So through OOP we can do this. Then polymorphism. Poly is many. Okay, so polymorphism is done in two ways in object oriented programming, particularly in Java. I'll say what polymorphism is. That is one single entity doing many tasks is known as polymorphism. For example, polymorphism can be done in two ways in Java. Another one is method overriding, another one is method overloading. Method overriding is, see, in inheritance, when the parent class and the child class have the same function with the same function name, when when the method is executed in runtime, the child class method will be executed, not the parent class method. This means the child class method overrides the parent class method. Okay, this is called overriding. Then overloading. Overloading is a single method name, that is more than one methods having the same name with different parameter lists can be used in a program. Okay, so when we call the method, we'll use the same name but the parameter list will be different. So whichever method that is relevant to the particular calling, that method will be executed, right? So that's called method overload. We'll execute all the concepts in programming later. Okay.